Here we go. God, within Western religion at least, is all good, empathetic, and forgiving in all aspects. God is always on your side, and that thought is objectively very comforting. An infinitely, incomprehensibly powerful being is constantly rooting for you, so there's nothing to worry about, right? Well, almost. There's one tiny itty-bitty issue with this philosophy. Life is real bad for a huge percentage of the human population, many of which are good people, many of which are God-fearing individuals, many of which don't deserve the pain they're put through every day. How does one explain this contradiction? Well, it's probably not possible to, but let's give it a shot. The first solution is terrifying. If God is an incomprehensible, infinite being, as we know, then God is above human concept and cannot be held to the same standard that we hold each other people to. This includes creating an image that represents God, the hairy, white-haired white guy, But it goes far above that and beyond that. God knows what has happened. God knows what is happening, and God knows what will happen. If God knows everything about everything, how could God possibly care about anything? If God is an infinite being, then how can we hold it to the same emotional standard that we hold ourselves to? God is too powerful to feel anything as puny as emotion. God cannot feel happy for your triumphs. God cannot feel sad about your misfortune. God knows exactly what's going to happen to you, and God knows exactly what's going to happen as a result of those events. God cannot smile down on you. God doesn't have a mouth to smile. The issue with this philosophy, as you've probably already realized, is that God becomes cold and lifeless. God is drained. God isn't with you. God isn't against you. God is. What's the point of a religion if what you're worshiping doesn't have the capacity to care? This one's much nicer. Again, we assume that God is infinite, but let's give God back its emotion. God can now, once again, feel happiness, sadness, anger, etc. So if God is all-powerful, can feel emotion, and God is good, why does evil happen? Well, we're thinking about it wrong. Evil doesn't happen. What actually is God's plan? Well, it's more or less a justification. Nobody but God knows what the future will bring. This theory essentially states that even if you believe something bad is happening, perhaps in the grand scheme of things, that negative event needed to happen in order to bring along great things for the whole of humanity. Every negative event is essentially a domino that creates a chain to a net positive outcome. God knows that every event needs to happen for goodness to occur, therefore, God doesn't interfere. This theory is fantastic if, you're not one of the dominoes that needs to fall in order for a good thing to come along 200 years in the future. This solution takes personal experience completely out of the equation. Maybe that'll lead to substantial economic growth in 200 years. That's not gonna console a mother who just lost her child. You know what I mean? You sacrifice the smaller good for the greater good, and on a microscopic human emotional level, that just doesn't work. I hope that you now understand why it's so difficult to find a real solution to the God versus evil conundrum. Every solution discussed is nice on the surface, but it will be dismantled as you start to dig through and really think about the implications. I don't think we've figured it out yet, at least not to my knowledge, but here's hoping we do soon.